It will be posted. It will be posted at the YouTube channel of Commissioner Jerica Richardson. So I'm seeing Commissioner Jerica Richardson. She's here right now, and our process is to save time and give more optimal time for the presentation of the Friends of Bolton Parks. If you can kindly share your name in the chat and your group, if you belong to a group or if you are an individual advocate for environment, just place information in there so that we'll be able to give acknowledgement, especially for everyone, especially during the discussion and the discussion portion. So to take us off, good evening everyone. I am Josephine Arjho Turner, and I am the CAB District 2 Community Advisory Cabinet Member for Sustainability. And the project that this office is doing for Commissioner Jerica Richardson is called the Sustainability Environmental Advocacy Project. For the flow of tonight, we're going to have our short welcome message, and then the presentation of Dr. Jim Walton that will take 30 minutes of the time, discussion on that one, and also engagement and commitment for members of the community. For those of you who are, I'm going to come back on that one, for those of you who are new to the Sustainability Environmental Advocacy Project, before Commissioner will speak, she really have this as part of her agenda, legislative agenda, the increasing of engagement of community stakeholders, especially in the areas of soil, water, and air quality. And our end goal is that hopefully before the year ends, we'll be able to craft really the environmental justice agreement as part of this whole process of stakeholder engagement. So one, conduct hopefully sustainability forum and annual sustainability awards. We'll have to try to still do it this year. So engaging social groups interested for whoever you are in sustainability initiatives via virtual meetings because of COVID-19. And hopefully this year we can do some in-person meetings, especially during the planning stage of this initiative. And of course, we're gonna bridge environmental concerns, issues, policies with respect to these three areas of soil, water, and air that Commissioner Richardson can advocate in her capacity as a CAB District 2 Commissioner. And of course, engage everyone in the crafting of the environmental justice agreement and the sustainability awards. So again, that's the three main points. That's the heart of it. So far, we've had our three presentations already done, and today is the fourth one. And we are really inviting people. We have posted this in our social media and people that we know in other groups to do a presentation. We still have an open event for two more before we're gonna do our planning workshop and hopefully crafting for the agreement. So today we'll have Dr. Jim Walton of the Friends of Bolton Parks to do the presentation. But before that presentation, I wanted to give this time for Commissioner Richardson to briefly share her heart on this and formally welcoming everyone. And if you're just new coming in, please put your name and your organization in the chat. Thank you. Commissioner Richardson?
Sure. Just want to say welcome. Arjho did a great job with introducing certainly what the event is or what this workshop or session is about and the effort as well. Like I said, welcome. And the biggest thing that I'm looking at, and Arjho referenced it, it's really the environmental justice agreement. And to spell it out plainly, it's a list of policies, procedures, and investments that we can make as a county in order to empower our residents around water, soil, and air with information regarding water, soil, and air. So that entails, bless you, that entails a lot of different opportunities, and the goal of these different stakeholder engagement meetings, it's to know who different stakeholders are, which groups are out there, but also to pull in ideas and things that are kind of floating out there to be a part of what we look at as a part of our environmental justice agreement. As it stands today, there are about, I don't know, 30, bless you again, 30 plus things that are on the list that can comprise the environmental justice agreement. as it stands. But the goal is to make sure that we know who the stakeholders are so that when we craft it collectively as a community, we know we can feel proud of what the content is that's inside of it, so that when we are looking to pass it as a commission, everyone had the opportunity to provide input, insight, voice any concerns, and just make sure that we're looking at how we can be very strategic about how we approach our natural resources as a community. So that's really the high level objective. What was also mentioned was the sustainability awards. That's something that I think can become an incredible opportunity for Cobb County to position itself as a leader in this space, not just for our own community, but also regionally and internationally, and really bring those opportunities here so that we can highlight what's how we're moving forward in different ways, and what that can mean from economic development, from, as I mentioned earlier, conservation of resources, different technologies that are out there that we can embrace towards our future. The idea is to lay the groundwork to set up that role in the community or in the region to be leading in those discussions, and to bring in thought leaders around that and recognize those that have made an incredible impact, from private institutions to public partnerships and so on, in order to acknowledge and pull that fully in. So those are really the two things. If we can close those out this year, I would be ecstatic and feel happy. That is the goal. So in these sessions, like, it's a time for the organizations who are hosting to shine. This is you, Jim. Looking forward to hearing about all the different things. But it's that opportunity to look at where there can be potential synergies even beyond the environmental justice agreement as well. So, hopefully there's some Q&A at the end where everyone who's attending is able to just dig a little bit deeper. But this is really that chance for organizations to shine. Certainly, if you know an organization that might be interested in hosting, you can host one and be a part of the stakeholder group as well. So Arjho, I will go on mute, and I just want to say thank you all so much for attending, because it is a very important issue, and will be very rewarding when we complete it.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Richardson. And now it's time for us to hear from Dr. Jim Walton, who is with the Friends of Bolton Parks, to share what their group is doing and how are they envisioning, especially with the biggest theme of Commissioner Jerica is connecting Cobb. And that is beyond Cobb. And the group of Dr. Jim is actually just right next door on the other side of the Chattahoochee River. So let's get to know them and their what their stakeholder interest is for this evening. Dr. Jim?
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And Commissioner Richardson, thank you for having me here. I'm going to put the ball to you as well to follow through on this sustainability that you're talking about, this environmental advocacy that you're talking about, and then engaging those people that can help make the change, even people that don't know they can. Because I think what we're going to find is that we have to put the responsibility back on people to help out where they can, whether it be in their community, grassroots, then joining with larger stakeholders that have the ability to do more, whether that be Trust for Public Land, the Parks Department, Path Foundation. These have the big picture, and certainly they cross the county lines. You have a great park system in Cobb County, whether it be Nickajack, whether it be SEAP, whether it be along the river with Powers Ferry, Paces Ferry, Palisades, Soap Creek. It's fantastic. We've got to take care of these resources. And so Arjho even joined me for a Chattahoochee Riverkeeper Sweep the Hooch over here on this side of the river. We took out 5,000 pounds in one morning. It was fantastic. And just the piles that kept getting bigger, and beds that were taken out, tires, lots of different things. But all these can occur all throughout the county, and we want to be a part of it. So my background, I was OBGYN for a lot of years and retired. I had a lot of things happen all at once, including car accident, MS, lots of things happened, but okay, that was just a thing. It just got me out of the practice of medicine. Then I went into more consulting. So that's where I am now, and it keeps changing. So now I got bored during COVID and started cleaning the neighborhood. Started a group called Friends of Bolton Parks. What we're associated with, a subgroup, is called Park Pride, a 501. And this 501 group has probably 65 different groups around the city of Atlanta. And I think this would be something great for Cobb County, where each park has their own steward in addition to parks. Certainly parks looks over the big picture, but individual stakeholders that are in the neighborhood, that are their advocates for their parks, are going to be the real strength in this. You know, our group started just as an extension because one friend, his project was too big. We went from helping out at a few different parks in the area to separating it out to where we each have our own subgroups. And then I don't have any limits on what I like to think about. So for Northwest Atlanta, I've even designed 27 miles of parks, trails that we can put into play. I would like to see put into play, but it all has to start somewhere. And I think the small wins will engender the big wins. And we'll go into one of the projects, you know, a little bit later. Arjho, if we could get maybe the Cobb slides. Arjho, you're muted. There we go. So let's talk about taking care of Cobb County. You know, there's lots of different places. And, you know, who is this Bolton Parks? Thank you. Sorry, this slide deck got lost in transit here. So Arjho's going to be I don't have a dinger and I don't have the slide deck. So we're just going to have to play by ear. And I appreciate your patience in this, because I didn't even get to look at this even beforehand, even though I designed this last month. This Friends of Bolton Parks, we're a group of volunteers who want to have the same thought that our previous mayor had, which was a path, a trail, a park within 10 minutes. Lots of people have different things they think of when they think of trails and parks. You know, it's wellness, it's hiking, it's biking, it's kayaking. You know, we have here in Atlanta on this side of the river, we've got the Atlanta Beltline, but it's taking quite a long time to get there. Path is a wonderful resource as well, and they now are up to 300 miles. And this is all across the city, not just one place. These are the 27 miles that I would like to see put into place. If we look at the different pieces, the blue line going right through the center, right into Cobb County, South Atlanta Road, that meets Plant Atkinson Road at, what is this, Silver Comet Extension. That is path, foundations, trails, and it's the connections that we get. There's a continuing expansion of this on your side, whether it's at the Eddy, Discover Park, Riverland Trail, Nickajack Creek, Palisades. It's, let's see. Oh, okay. I can at least point to things. Good. Down here, recently in Cobb County, just because I've been out here speaking, I helped start help join the forces with Welcome South Cobb. Music festival, a little bit of fun, and we'll get to this in just a moment. We'll go back to those trails for a second, just to kind of get the lay of the land. Where we are is right here at South Atlanta Road and Marietta Boulevard, where they meet the river. This and Donnelly Hallowell there's some great opportunities to introduce people as they cross the river to the river. Introduce them to Cobb County, welcome to Atlanta. I think these would be great stepping off places to pass the baton. With Cobb County, you know, you're in District 2, but there's many more districts and they all have to connect, whether it's bus rapid transit, whether it's trails, whether it's whatever type of transportation solutions, commuting solutions, and wellness solutions. This South Atlanta Road, our continuation could come across the river and continue that 8/10 of a mile. I would love to see you be the advocate for that 8/10 of a mile to get it across the river, connect down, and then connect to this red trail. You know, I have it connecting 9 breweries because I think that people will get out and use it a little bit more. You know, people just need the option to have something as they go, something stimulating them, whether it be a park, whether it be mountain biking, whether it be what the Atlanta Beltline has seen, especially on the East Side Trail. East Side Trail alone brings in over 100 million a year in taxes by itself. As we connect this, as we connect the Comet to the Beltline, that will be phenomenal. I think that even these areas that are not developed with trails yet could be instrumental in generating many more taxes and generating wellness in the people around it. Maybe West Side Quarry here has a MARTA line that connects to the river. Maybe we create more mountain biking trails here. One of the things that just happened with this advocacy that we have, it's been years coming, but we keep putting ourselves out there. The Friends of Riverside Park, which was how this all began, has now worked with the Conservation Fund and Stacy Funderburk, acquiring land that was flooded down here where these light blue trails are, now passing it off to the city. So now, over the last 3 months, we've been in park visioning along the river to create the first entrance for Atlanta to the river. That sounds hard to believe, but there's really no City of Atlanta entrance to the river. And so this took years, but it's happening. With that happening, this morning, I just got the notice that one of the projects that we're working on our side of the river, there's the Trolley Substation from the 1800s, and that closed down in 1947. Once we had the advent of cars and no gas rationing after World War II, the electric trolleys got put away, but we still have the electric trolley substation. We have the trolley tunnel, and we have the old waterworks that we're protecting along the river. And we just heard this morning that now this area going from the trolley tunnel over towards Paul Avenue, or this other park, moved up the line and got more fast-tracked since that other land was pushed through. I may have only been here for a few years with this, but in that area, they've been working over 8 years. But that impetus has pushed our project forward. Arjho joined me on the Chattahoochee Trail along the river, which was the first path, but closed in 1996 because of the Olympic bombing. But thoughts are now, okay, this could get now fast-tracked. Maybe we get this trail along the river. Keith Sharp was the one who helped found this. I'm Jim Walton here. Trust for Public Land. Arjho has joined me on the meetings where we are in the Chattahoochee Working Group and talking with several cities, counties, teams along the river in the 125-mile plan along the river to go from Beaufort Dam to Chattahoochee Hills. And Cobb County has a large section along the river. So that is phenomenal. And I can't wait to see what we're able to do. think it would be important to get the bridges across the river, however they may be, preferably not on heavily driven roads, but we'll take what we can get as we get it. First we have to get a park, to get the trail, to go to the next park, to get structure, to get more funding. We founded Bolton Parks in 2019. We cleaned up the Trolley Substation in 2020. Each month from January on, we've been working on different projects. Some winds have been preventing the infill of the trolley tunnel, which will now be a placeholder place owned by the city parks for entrance into the Whetstone Trail. Could be entrance into the Silver Comet. It could be entrance for the whole Riverlands Trail and our nearest access. We designed, we took one of the parts that I'll talk about in a moment, we'll call it the Bolton Park green space, because Commissioner, this is where you can help as well, is thinking outside the box, think in the white space. We have watershed properties here in Atlanta, but they're in a different bucket than parks. And though I'm not the politician, I am understanding how different buckets work, and they don't always overlap, but they can. I think that we've proven it because Old Fourth Ward Park is a watershed and park space. Cook Park in Vine City is a watershed and parks space, co-managed MOUs, memorandum of understanding for those. But we can use this space. We have something that may be just wonderful and can only be used for a certain period of time. So sure, watershed space may be future expansion, but that same watershed space could be used for 25 years until that expansion occurs. So start at the 20,000 foot level, figure out what's the whole big idea. What things do we need? Parks, trails, let's take it a little bit smaller, what geographic, time, and money constraints, because all those matter, and all those matter how we do it over time. And then the 1 foot level, where do we start and show a win? Let's have some projects and wins. This looks like nothing. This is the Whetstone Trail and heavily grown over, but look at that. There was, oh, one back. There's actually an amphitheater there that has been covered over, and the neighborhood now knows that this has been there all along. Next. The entrance to the Whetstone Trail now has a placeholder, a little bit of identity. Next. We'll go next. Yeah, there we go. The Trolley Substation that we talked about. This is after cleaning it up. This was completely grown over with trees growing on top of the roof. Next. But what can it be? These are drawings here from 1997. 1997, they had already the idea that this trolley barn could be a plaza, an entrance to the river where you go on the Chattahoochee Trail, where it continues down the river towards this Lower Paul Park that we were talking about earlier. But it's not acted on. Lots of drawings, but we need to get some things done. So that's where we come in as your eyes on the ground, your advocates for the parks. Though Parks is thinking in many different places over a large geographic area, those advocates can come clean this area, get it presentable, show that it can be exactly this. Next. And the old water pumping station, also cleaned up. This one's not cleaned up right here. This is before, but also presentable. And now think about this CSX tracks that is inactive but not abandoned. I know over on the other side, there's been some financial issues where the path didn't have complete control of the property, but let's think about it and keep making forward steps. Next. So next, how do we engage people? One, the local group, the Friends of Bolton Parks. You get the neighborhoods, the NPU, Boy Scouts here. What a great bunch right here. Troop 433 from Cobb County. One of the gentlemen's projects was doing just that, taking down the limbs, limbing things, making it much more presentable to where we can open this space and have it usable, protected, and sustainable. We want to be the advocates. We want to show by example, and these guys got out there. The first project was the Trolley Substation. The second project was the Waterworks, and the third one now going on is at Sarah Gonzalez Park, and we'll be putting in a artificial turf field and a protecting the park where the park was bought and created, but it's eroding. So our group comes in and will do those parts that the Parks Department hasn't. This is the lower Paul Park that we talked about with a large floodplain that is now, all these parcels are now part of a park and are in the design process. And behind it, we've already created 3 miles of trails. And we'll go next. These 3 miles of trails where it is a floodplain. It is what you think of as the watershed. You think of these areas, but they are fabulous for getting out, relaxing. COVID was very stressful. COVID was very isolating. What a great way to get out and use this. And this is just one part. Next. This is me on the other side in a little bit easier way to see. The trailhead where the old trolley tunnel was, the old trolley substation. I'd like to put a bridge across to Standing Peachtree. I would love to have that connect the Comet coming down, dropping off at Moore's Mill into Fours. I would love to have mountain biking trails through the power lines and connecting to Spink Collins, and even this 30 acres I have grand ideas for. But it's all about the connection, how Cobb connects in here, and then doing this on that side of the river. We have to, next, we have to be that advocate. 10,000 foot down into what we can do and create a win. Next. That's me. And here we are, Cobb County on the Silver Comet expansion. And next. Do you have the next one, Arjho?
That's a different, you wanted me to proceed to the other slide?
Sure.
That's the last one. Okay,
Yes.
I'm gonna stop share this one.
Before I start the other one, question that y'all have right now. There's so many places, and I wanted to throw in some slides with Nickajack Creek, with the Riverlands at Discovery Park and the Eddy. Trust for Public Land has some beautiful drawings of this and what can be created, but you need to be on that catawample. I love that word. A catawample is a purposeful journey and a purposeful direction to an as of yet determined destination. You know, we know what we want done. We want to protect the environment. We know which direction to go. It's just, you know, what the end part is. No, we don't know, but we can keep making steps. So what did I do here? With Friends of Bolton Parks, we decided to, let's activate this green space. This is the LCI of Bolton and the area. This was drawn many years ago, even though it says 2020. Next. This is the picture I had just shown you. And what we're going to think about, we'll go back one. is this area right here where the Whetstone Creek is. And next, what we have is a area nice and flat, a place that is watershed owned and could be future expansion of the water treatment. But what is it now? There's one single path through here and there's these beautiful wetlands right here. Okay, next. Path has done some planting. Parks has agreed to take care of 10 feet on either side. But again, it's that MOU that got it started to kind of create this path foundation, path trail in this area, but none of this green space is activated. Next. In the wetlands here, we've created 3 distinct trails, and we've even got it continuing on to the next subdivision, which is going in. These areas and taking down the invasives has been what we do. We've created trails, we've used this space, but it doesn't look so good right here. And it doesn't look like, okay, maybe I want to go play football right there. Next. So what can we do? Well, this is the 500-year floodplain. Sure, we have to work with what we have. This area in yellow is above it. It's nice, it's flat, it's raised. It continues on, and this Whetstone Trail continues to Tilford Yard, and Tilford Yard could go to the go to the West Side Quarry Park, which is now our largest park in Atlanta by twice the size of Piedmont Park. And next. So we took it upon ourselves to do professional plans. We could set the watershed, and I don't know how it is with you, Commissioner. On our side, our watershed can't have active components within it. But we can be a little passive aggressive. If I drew like some soft lines through the center, then it just happens to separate it into 4 different spaces. We could just put soft trails, very manageable, something to give people a way to enjoy this area over here, clean out the invasives, create this vision of the wetlands and the creeks that are back there, the Whetstone Creek. Maybe add some sod here that just makes it a good active space for kids to play in. And we create this central gathering area for the neighborhood to form community. And through forming community, you get that engagement, and people want it. They engage and they take ownership of it. And we are just much healthier people together. Next. Different things you could add, art pieces, fences. You could make it fun. Next. We did a full-on pricing. This was done by HGOR. Sure, I need about $877,000 for this. Okay. Well, that doesn't mean it's all coming out of the county or the city. We have private partners. We have matching grants. We have things that this will activate if we are connecting to a senior citizen center that does not have access to this, which we could create this access. Other players like that, like AARP, will come in and match some of these dollars. It's all about matching the dollars. And I'm thinking about, I need $1 million park. Okay, think of 1/4 to 1/5 of that, and that's what each part is responsible for. Next. Let's create it here. Let's create a neighborhood. Let's connect all of these different pieces, parts. Let's be a part in Cobb County. Next. And that's it. Have a great day. I just want to close with, this is all about Cobb County. This is what we've done on this side. We can create like-kind groups that are advocates in the community. We can think about where the priorities are and where you see the priorities, where you see the opportunities. Everybody's going to have different needs. So let's keep the inclusivity. Let's let things be multi-use. some of the trails in Cobb County have signs where one day hikers walk one way and bikers go the opposite. So we're not going to come behind somebody. And then the next day it changes. Fantastic. Let's create those pieces in there. Let's be open to what can happen. Let's be open to how we use our resources. Let's protect them. That's about it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jim, for the presentation, and thank you for sharing to us what is our neighbors doing on the other side of the Chattahoochee River. The river is really a wonderful resource that is shared among counties, not just in Cobb and Fulton County, but it stretches across the state of Georgia and beyond. Any thoughts and comments from Commissioner Jerica Richardson?
Certainly, I have a list, but would love to hear from members of the community first. I always reserve my comments for last.
Yes. We welcome any questions, and you can just share your name or your group if you have some.
Doctor, what is the source to date of the development that you've provided on the Bolton County side, and how would we address that on the Cobb side? I'm not sure, but it seems as directly opposite your developments that it's private property.
Some of these are city properties. Some of them, like the watershed property, is one to start with a resource that we already have. So it may be a Cobb County watershed space that could be used as a park space. I'm very conscious about what things cost and getting the MOUs, the memorandum of understanding, getting an easement. So like the mountain biking trails are Georgia Power. So getting an easement from them and trying to keep the numbers as small as possible. The spaces that Dustin Hillis, who's our commissioner on this side, has thought of things like the concrete recycling plant, which is on the river, which is right between the tunnel and the substation. That's 14 acres, which could be used as future watershed space itself. But he's finding new locations for this company. Other ideas on the private space. I think one of the ways that's outside the box again is possibly giving a tax abatement rather than, I know over on the Silver Comet there was some issues with ownership of the CSX tracks. I think there was 700,000 in recent settlements. But because it wasn't CSX land to give, it was not their property, it was a private property. And so we have to look at all those pieces in there. If we can think outside the box instead of buying the whole piece of property, is there ways to do tax abatements for the value of that land? Because when we look at it, the Atlanta Beltline is Atlanta's beachside property. Those properties have risen astronomically in value. So someone having that Beltline path, trail, access near to them raises those values. Did I answer anything?
Roger?
Yes.
The other part I see with the private land ownership is also doing it faster, quicker. I love Beltline and I love path and everything, but we've telegraphed everything out so far that this last part of the Beltline to finish it has been really difficult because of the infill, the buying up of the property, and it now costing three times what it would have cost earlier with that big, when we had the 10,000 foot view. So if we can do things in a little bit larger felt swoop where we come in and have the ownership of the land before any of the building, would be fantastic. And it would decrease the price probably by at least 50%, maybe 75%.
Sorry, I had opened up our Cobb County GIS map and was looking at that area along the river, and my access to this screen was hidden somewhere. I just found it again. So,
well, I'd be glad to share some of the things that TP Hell has drawn out. I mean, those are some of the best maps that I've found, Trust for Public Land. When we look at, and they break it down into each different component, and it's a long document, but they have the whole Riverlands project. If you go into that, you can see each part within Cobb County, whether it's Discovery Park, whether it's the larger plan. They even have parts that go all the way from Palisades and Soap all the way down to past Discovery Park and past Nickajack.
for many, many years here, I've been in Atlanta about 40 years now, and they're frequently brought up a continuous, I guess you would call it a linear park along both sides of the Chattahoochee, or one side
Yes.
of the Chattahoochee, similar to in Texas at, see, where's that? San Antonio, I believe, has the River Walk. Recently, that was in the news media again, I'd say in the last 30 days, some mention of it is, are you connected with any of those activities? Or
Yes, and I've brought in Commissioner Richardson and Arjho into the Chattahoochee Working Group meeting, where everyone discusses, wins, losses along the plan. And even now we're in more of the visioning, even down to the granular parts of where to put the trail, what to make the trail out of, what to make the signage out of, and everyone is giving input live into this. It's real, it's happening, and y'all are a huge part of it. There's some wonderful things that y'all have done specifically. I love the walking trail, green space, then biking trail. I think we run into problems on the Beltline where the intermixing of people, pets, leashes, and bicycles can be very difficult and don't always follow the path like they're intended to. There might be a 13-foot leash out there, and people say, oh, it's the bicyclist's fault. And the bicyclists be like, oh, it's the pet owner's fault. And the other ones will be like, oh, it's the slow moving people walking 5 across. But having that separation like you will have in that, I believe it's a 3-mile demonstration you have, Commissioner, down near the eddy. And it will be separated that way. And so those are wonderful things. Even we talk about soft curbs, just something to kind of keep people from crossing and using it together. But that way everyone gets to use it.
well, as you know, we have the Gold Branch, north of the areas that you're speaking about, and then the CID has expressed interest in creating a park along their border with the river.
It's all fantastic, and it's what we each have to do on our side of the river. It's like we need to make that connection, make it easy to connect to Cobb County. We need to find out where it is that Cobb County can connect in. Some of the places we've had discussions about, I understand that people have talked about the bridge across the Chattahoochee near Proctor Creek on our side. I think TPL just said they would give 20% towards the engineering of such a bridge today. And you have to think, there's connections all the way around, whether it be Fulton County, whether it be City of Atlanta, everywhere. But the people in these meetings in the Chattahoochee Working Group include, City of Moulton. They've been, large voice, and Dunwoody and Sandy Springs, and it goes all the way up the river where everyone has different needs, whether it be more urban or more rural, and we accommodate those needs.
is the Chattahoochee River Keepers group involved?
Peripherally on that one, we're all, Chattahoochee River Keeper is more protection advocacy for the water itself, whereas TPL is more on like the path side. Difficulties just based on demographics too, because coming from West Paces Ferry to Atlanta Road has some high dollar houses, and so finding the correct trail through there that people won't fight is a little harder. So I believe in some of the drawings here, they had well, let's see, I can show this if you want. I can share my screen.
That'd be great.
While you're pulling that up, I just, because I know we don't have a lot of time left.
Okay.
Make sure that we get any other questions that others may have. As well.
Sorry, it's I'm not sure why. I've got 600 speed here, but as you can see from Palisades, West Kayak, or Palisades, Paces Mill, certain areas go away from the river because difficulty getting there. There are
Where
some
is that tunnel that you spoke about?
Pardon me?
Excuse me for interrupting. Where's the tunnel you spoke about, and what was the origin of the tunnel?
The tunnel is right here, Atlanta Road and Bolton. So it's on the river. It's where the water treatment plant is, right behind it, on the river. And the first path is back there, paved and everything. But since it's been closed since 1996, there's less taking care of it. And there's a lot of erosion. And then I find out that, well, that has to be a Georgia DOT problem, working with Atlanta DOT, not the park system nor the path system. It's tough to figure out which bucket. And so I would love to be that person that talked to everybody, but and had everybody in the conversation, or just everybody gets pinged on what's going on. But it's right here. As on your side and our side, there will be trail going on.
Was that tunnel part of an old transit system?
Yes, the trolley went to Marietta and then down to Bankhead.
Okay,
And 2 trolleys met there.
thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any more questions before Commissioner Jericho will do her comments and at the same time closing remarks so that we can all get done at 8 o'clock?
Okay.
All right. So I will keep this very, very high level. So in general, we do have several friends groups with the park system. Not every park has a friends group. It just depends on the makeup of that surrounding area. And as you can imagine, that's where you'll have some nuances introduced in terms of what type of community is around that park. The overarching group, though, that tends to, or that I was looking to expand within the county, is the Keep Cop Beautiful department. And that was to incorporate and adopt a park component. They currently have something of the sort that deals with some more hands, volunteer-oriented aspects. The issue with the reliability of volunteers is that it's not reliable. So the idea was to kind of incorporate a funding component to those friends groups, that those groups could be sponsors of a sort, so that even at the times that the volunteers weren't available, that there were necessary resources in order to fill those types of gaps, whether from a maintenance or operational standpoint. And it was a way to really embrace kind of that private-public partnership that existed around some of these public assets. So that is something that's currently on the list. Adopt a Park was also expanded to really all of the different faculties that fall under Keep Cop Beautiful, which is litter prevention, and so on. So it was meant to be more comprehensive, but also allow for some of that more monetary benefit coming in from the community, because as it stands, everything is funded through the county. And then the other thing that came up is that Cobb County used to have a gateway initiative. And this was some of our major thoroughfares that go into the county and how those crossovers look, and how do you make sure that those areas stay tidy, stay clean, stay appealing for those that live in the area. And so the idea was to bring that back into the mix within the Keep Cobb Beautiful umbrella. And so as a gateway corridor kind of initiative, you would adopt a gateway. And that would include things like Atlanta Road. Other things that were referenced. So yes, connecting the trails is certainly a big part of what I've called out as some of the initiatives that I have. It's certainly in the District 2 mobility vision. Silver Comet connection, there's been a lot of funds that have been put towards all of the different extensions, and certainly the Chattahoochee Trail project as well. That was presented and was, that was actually set aside as a part of SPLOST in the last iteration. And we doubled down on the support as the commission last year, just to make sure that that did have some adequate funding and could continue moving forward in the way that that project needs to move forward, with a lot of different components tied to District 4, District 2, that lower area of those districts, because District 2 is kind of a shorter length, but we do that. It was basically the funds are going towards developing that out and starting with some of those key areas so that you can create the park sprawl in this sense, or the trail sprawl. Like if you start with the amphitheater, for instance, and then you have the trails that connect outwards from that location. So I know that those conversations are going on. I appreciate your inclusion in some of the more in-depth conversations there. Certainly my conversations tend to be more around funding and other partners that we can bring into the fold, other funding sources, whether it be a private partnership. That's really where I focus on some of those elements, and where there are, of course, strategic opportunities for us. But the Silver Comet is certainly a part of that. You mentioned the CID, the SWEEP. So they have the perimeter trail that they're working on as well. It's a multimodal trail, and the idea is for that to also have some tie into all of the other pieces. Silver Comet, the Chattahoochee, connecting down to the Belt Line with Silver Comet as well, and how all of those could tie together. The other layout that I'm looking at is we have a lot of Civil War battlefield parks that are not necessarily fully tended to. Communities will try to upkeep them, and parks certainly plays a role to upkeep them. So does some of those preservation committees as well. But what I think we can do to truly enhance those is I'm trying to work on a partnership with KSU to basically introduce augmented reality into those parks. So when you go visit them, you can actually re-experience what took place there without an extraordinary cost being appended to it, but that it could provide some very educational opportunities for our community, and a potential tourism opportunity as well. And by connecting those battlefields, you'll see a real pathway kind of be created that overlays on a more latitude type of, or longitudinal type of array for our trails. Another thing here was, yes, you mentioned the breweries. Certainly Smyrna has, they launched their development project and it includes a brewery as well. And, certainly trying to find ways to make sure that they're connected to the brewery tour that exists currently with all of the other metro counties, so that we can continue having economic development go throughout those areas, right? It's about how do you get someone to, instead of splitting their $1 in 9 places, how do they spend $9, right? That's kind of the idea of having a strategic economic development plan. In coordination with that as well is an arts triangle opportunity that we're looking at. And triangle is the placeholder. It could be an arts polygon, the way that some of these conversations are going. But the idea was to really focus on some of the enabling some of the arts communities that currently exist today. We have a very strong Marietta arts community, a very strong Smyrna arts community, and a very strong CID Performing Arts Center is down there in that area. It's kind of the Broadway of Cobb County in a sense. It's where all of your star performances exist, the Cobb Energy Center, et cetera. And so by connecting those three areas, we would have another opportunity for providing some another layer of mobility around these trails and a really good anchoring spot for people that are using trails in different ways to get to actual places. So this would be another one of those destinations where we can activate those spaces and make sure, again, instead of finding, splitting your $1 three ways, you spend $3 for each of the quarters of the triangle. So that's also ongoing. And then the last thing that I was going to mention, well, two more things. One other thing I was going to mention is Vinings currently doesn't have a park. And Vinings is, of course, within the perimeter. It's on the other side of the Chattahoochee, as you see. Where we've had limitations is our staff numbers. We've actually decreased the number of staff maintaining our parks, but we've more than quadrupled the park space that's being maintained since the 70s. So we actually have fewer people working within that department since then. And it has certainly created a strain on staff. And we are trying to reconcile some of those issues this year with regards to budget, salaries, how that's organized, promotional opportunities, the whole package, right? What does that look like so that we can remain competitive in the metro area? But outside of that, once that's resolved, we can look at additional spaces to maintain, because it takes a lot to, invest the money. That's the CapEx, that's the initial origination of these spaces, but you have to maintain it for perpetuity and set up the infrastructure for it. So Adopt a Park, Keep Cobb Beautiful, some of those initiatives can go hand in hand. Our fixing of how we do our budgets and how we do our salaries will go hand in hand with that. But looking to roll out a park in Vinings, that's something that's also listed in my goals, is making sure that a good, solid county park is there, and there is an opportunity that has kind of presented itself that would be prime for a public-private partnership. There's actually a space that used to be owned by the guy that created the Coca-Cola logo. And it's all that property and that family heritage and history. So we think it presents a unique opportunity to see where there could be a nice space for people to go out and enjoy. It is a bit of a floodplain, so a portion of it would be flooded, but that's not something that's new for other parks as well. It's just making sure that there aren't any, as you mentioned, active spaces where it normally floods. And we definitely have a lot of stormwater issues. So that's something that's really high up on the list, that we're making sure we're putting safety first when it comes to residents and those that are nearby. So that, I think, covers most of it. The only other thing I was going to mention is, yes, we don't have NPUs. But I do have communities that I have called out within the district, and certainly the lines change from, depending on what the state legislature does. But there are, as District 2 is currently drawn, there are about 10 different communities, all very distinct needs, and each of them could have, they have several, some of them, not all of them, have several parks within their particular communities where there can be a more focused effort to drive out the Friends of type of aspect, right? We could have the Friends of East Cobb Parks versus the Friends of East Cobb Park, because that's the current one that exists there. Or Fuller's Park, that would be contained within East Cobb, for instance, moving forward. So I think there is some opportunity there. We can look at incorporating some of those Friends groups into our master planning initiative, which is more formalization around the communities that exist, so that we can have more strategic investments and more thoughtful and mindful planning considerations around how communities want to be structured and how we create enforceability around that structuring for those communities. So hopefully that wasn't too much. I just ran down the list of what was there, and it gives you some idea of kind of where we can move forward in different ways, hopefully.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Jerica Richardson, for your insights. So we've overboard for like 5 minutes. So we're done with the Friends of Bolton Parks. We hope to have what she mentioned about Cape Cobb Beautiful for May. They said that they can do presentation for May, and also the Chattahoochee River Keeper, they're also interested to do a presentation. Hopefully we're gonna have them in May or in June. So we're gonna have still the month of April, May and June open for as many stakeholders that we know of what will be interested. And the next engagements for this really is going to be the workshop. We hope to do it in person, and we're also gonna do a mix of online surveys for people that will not be able to make it. Commissioner Jericho Richardson has already the skeleton of this environmental justice agreement, but this skeleton is going to be substantiated by the community members. That's why we take our time to really engage community members and post and engage. And for those that have done their presentation, these groups are going to be activated again, especially when we are doing the active planning. And Dr. Jim, I know you have a big group. You have a private Facebook group with X number of people that they're free to give their inputs from the user story perspective. So we're gonna make use of the user story as our planning tool so that we can be more iterative with our planning, and it will be more adaptive to the situation that it is right now, and to what is being doable given this framework that Commissioner Jericho already have. With that, I wanted to say thank you to everyone for your time, for your precious time. And this is again going to be made available via the YouTube of Commissioner Jericho Richardson. We're gonna use this as a reference for our planning sessions. And I hope to see you all in the next presentations, and especially in June when we are taking off for the planning stage of this environmental justice agreement. And hopefully in that second or third quarter, we'll really have a flesh of it. And by the end of third quarter, Commissioner Jericho Richardson will have somehow a glimpse of how it is as a resolution, or however, whatever like artifact that we'll be able to come up with that she can present to the commission as a community input. So thank you so much for being here tonight.
I have a question.
Have a blessed night.
I have
Yes,
a question before we go.
Yes, sure.
Dr. Jim, during your slide presentation, for a nanosecond on the screen was what appeared to be a structural ruin from maybe the 1800s. Was that part of this? Is that in this area, or was that just a slide you have?
It is. It's just right across the river at Atlanta Road. It's the Chattahoochee Trail goes under Marietta Boulevard on our side of the river. On one side is the Trolley Substation. On the other side is the waterworks. And if you go towards Peachtree Creek and over, it's Standing Peachtree, which is the site of Fort Peachtree, which was significant not only in the Civil War, but in the War of 1812. It was also the site of where the Creek and the Cherokee used to trade across the river. And 200 years before that, it was where the pre-mound building Indians used to trade across the river.
I'd like to be able to find that and to tour it. Thank you.
Do you want to have a copy of that? Dr. Jim, is your presentation good for publication, for like sharing to attendants, whoever wanted to have a copy of it?
Absolutely.
Is there an address, Dr. Jim, that's close to that?
Well,
pinpoint, or
if you go to the bridge on the Marietta Boulevard side and go on the southern side of that bridge where the sidewalk has been widened on that side of the bridge, and you go over the guardrail, where I would like to put it in a ramp going down that, you know, more people could enjoy this and reactivate the trail. You could go in there, and then it's a paved path, and you could walk on both sides.
okay, and that's, tell me again that location. All right.
It's South Atlanta Road at the river.
Okay.
The landmarks right there are the water treatment plants on each of our sides of the river. The path just happens to be on this side of the river, and they closed it due to Homeland Security issues after the Olympic bombing.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And
Again,
by the way, they also
that's
do
another
a bi-monthly cleaning up. Dr. Jim's group, they're doing every 2 other Saturdays, right?
Every second Saturday, we're always cleaning some part of the trail of invasives, cleaning a site, or helping out Eagle Scouts. So now that one is getting my 4th weekend. My first weekend's working with Riverside. My 3rd weekend's getting with Spink Collins Park, and I'm not getting as much golf as I would really like to, you know.
And his Eagle Scout project participants are mostly Cobb residents. So they're from Cobb, being serving right there at the other side of the Chattahoochee River.
But I think there's a lot more people that are ready to do it. And I think there's a lot of people in Cobb County that are ready to get out there. A lot of kids that need the hours of service. And, you know, we think of it as just a moral obligation. And I think the Archdiocese would agree with that if they're here anywhere. I'm also Catholic. You know, we just got taught, you know, serving your family, serving your community, and being a part of it, not expecting someone else to do it for you.
Yes, exactly. Well, that's a very good closing remarks. So thank you so much, everyone. And this is a very engaging participation from everyone. Thank you, Mr. Roger, and thank you for everyone who have not maybe shared your thoughts, but your participation tonight is very, very important. Commissioner Jerica Richardson?
Just want to say it's so impressive, the work that you've been able to do within the community. And it's always amazing to see when residents are able to step up and drive that extra commitment. It's congratulations, kudos, and hopefully you're able to enjoy the fruits of some of that labor. And same goes to all of those that are on this call. I appreciate your care and focus and attention to the community and wanting to participate in this forum. Certainly we have some cabinet members here as well, and their commitment to the community. So I really appreciate that. And even an appointee from on the county board. So I appreciate everybody just for being here and caring. And we all want to see Cobb County be a thriving, or continue to be a thriving, beautiful place, and do the best they can for all those that are part of this community.
I've added my email address on there if anyone needs any of those pieces. I'm glad to help you or help you get these programs going.
Yes. So Ms. Kamika Penoto, thank you. Ms. Anna Tillman, thank you. Mr. Warren Balu, thank you. Ms. Donna Court, Mr. Ray Thomas, and whoever have joined us earlier. Thank you so much for the engagement for tonight. So with that, good evening and have a blessed week, y'all.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.